Hey everybody, welcome to another video here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Now in today's video, I am going to go through our current list as it stands heading into season 2022. Now, I've got to give a shout out, my man Chris Soras, who contacts me about the list regularly and speaks about, our A graders, our B graders, our C graders, and how we have a pretty big pool of that middle rung and we're not really sure about where they're at. And it got me thinking, why not do a tier maker of our list heading into this season and then look at it at the end of the season and see what changes. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to rank every player on the list as it is on the Carlton website today. I know that at the time of filming this, we've got one more spot to fill, but for the purposes of what we have right now, this is the most relevant list. So I need to also make an apology to Oscar McDonald, Jordan Boyd and Dom McCooey, who don't feature on this, but I will put Oscar McDonald in the tier 4 category and then Jordan Boyd and Dom McCooey in the tier 5 category. So let's get started. Okay, so I've got a couple. I'm just going to go straight from the top down to the bottom. So I personally believe Harry, Cripper, Walshy, Wiedering, Doherty, Chera and Sard are our tier 1 players. These are the guys who show the consistency. I was mindful with Doc. I know that he hasn't, we're not sure if he's going to play so early in the season, but based off what he did in 2021 with his consistency, I would generally say these are the guys who, any given week, I'm pretty confident that they're going to perform and pretty confident as to what they're going to do. Tier 2, Jack Silvani was an interesting one. I tossed up between Tier 2 and Tier 3. I'll let you have your opinions on that in the comments below. I just think he's so valuable to what we do, and I could be a little biased there, but I have him in level 2. Now, Charlie, obviously, with the talent that he has and what he's produced, if he's at his best and he's healthiest, he would, he'd be in that top category for sure. But given the layoff and given the uncertainty, I've got him in tier 2 for now with scope to rise up to tier 1. Hewitt, this was another one I wasn't sure. Is he a tier 1 or tier 2? I don't quite see him at the same level as the guys in level 1 just yet, but I also haven't watched much of him, if I'm dead honest. So I'm going to leave him there for now. Ed, I still think he's a level above the guys in the bottom level on tier 3. So that's why I've got him there. I think his consistency and his work ethic and his performances warrant that. And then Zach Williams, he's probably the other one where I would like to think that he is a tier 1 player. I think he's, as good as anyone else on the list on any given day, and I think he can be as damaging as most people in his position across the competition. So I've got him on tier 2, but I would really like to see him rise up to tier 1. That's where I expect him to be, if I'm honest. Now, tier 3 is where it gets interesting, because as I was doing this exercise, I started realizing there's so many players in here where it's just, you don't know. They probably should be a bit higher, but they haven't been able to perform at the level, or they're still rising in their careers and developing and haven't quite reached the level. So TDK, I think he falls into that second group, the ones that are still developing, but I think he's in that third group, tier 3. Mcgovern, he's definitely one who over the years I would expect to be in, really it should be tier 1, but I'm almost settling for tier 2. I think at the end of the season, I'd like to see him lift his performances. I think everyone would. I think he himself, more than anyone, would like to see him lift his performances and stay healthy and get back to his best footy and really just have a career best year. So I've got him right now in tier 3. Stocker, he's another one that's rising up the ranks. I think if I had have done this list at the start of 2021, I probably would have had Stocks under tier 4, but he rose a little bit. Fisher's probably one I might have had in tier 2. I still rate him. I still think he's got a lot to offer. The body's let him down, the consistency, it's just a range of things. So I think he just finds himself in this group of players. I think also because he hasn't quite solidified a spot, or in my opinion, I don't really know what's he going to be. Is he forward? Is he a midfielder? I'm not sure. I love what he brings. I love his energy and all of that, but I still have him in this group. Jack Martin, unfortunately, he's another one that I think really he should be at a bare minimum under tier 2. But unfortunately, we just haven't been able to see the best of him. Injuries have definitely played a part in that, but that's where I've got him. Plowman could probably, maybe I'm being harsh, he could be a tier 2 player because he does play an important role for us, but I think the overall package and my personal feelings tell me that tier 3 was the right choice. Pito is probably in that roundabout pack as well. I think he's definitely got scope for improvement. He's definitely got youth on his side, and he's got some time to develop in there as well, and it looks like he's going to be the starting ruckman come round 1. Newman, he's probably another one, a so-so. I don't quite have him as high as what these guys are in tier 2, and I definitely don't have him as low as what these guys are in tier 4. So tier 3 felt right. Cunners is another one who, if he can get it right, I know he's coming off an ACL now, but it's always kind of been a potential player. And I think if he can get the best out of himself and get consistent, I don't see any reason why he can't be a level 2 or a level 1 player. Paddy Dow's another one who is slowly starting to rise based on what we saw at the end of 2021, but I still have him in this group. Same with Fogarty, still quite young. Setterfield, I wonder if we did this at the start of 2021 where I'd put Setters, because I thought his 2020 was solid, really solid, but he finds himself there. Always is probably one that rose due to his 2021 form. Kennedy's probably another one that did the same. And then Jack Nunes, I think he's a solid body, mature player on the list, been in the system for a while. I think he's right there in the mix. And when you look at it, and I'll touch on it in a moment, there's just a lot of storylines within that tier 3 alone. Tier 4, young Jack Carroll and Brody Kemp are there with Tom Williamson. I think, well, if I talk about Carroll and Kemp, they're youngsters who, if you look at sort of the end of last year, Brody Kemp played a few games, showed some little signs. I think it was more about the fact that he was able to get some experience in the ones. I think that'll hold him in good stead for this year, and I would hope by the end of 2022, Brody Kemp can rise into this tier 3 group. Carroll, I've got him there purely because I just like what I've seen in preseason. He's definitely put the size on. His body composition looks different. Looks good at training in the match sim. Obviously, we need to see what it looks like in games, but I've got him in this level 4. Willow, I might be being a little harsh on Willow. He could be in tier 3, but I just felt like he dropped a bit. I've still got plenty of faith in him, and by the end of this year, I think he needs to rise up and get himself into this tier 3 list. And I mean, tier 2 would be amazing. I'm not going to write it off. Anything's possible, but I definitely think he needs to have a bit of a bounce back year almost. Lewis Young, I've got him in tier 4. There's been a lot of talk about him just slotting in and being this Liam Jones replacement. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not here to sell the dream and all of that. I just think he's probably got a bit of development to come from what I've seen at training, which really it's 2 open training sessions. So that could be a little unfair, but just from what I've seen and my gut telling me, my instinct, I think he finds himself here. Marchbank, not so different to Charlie in the sense of, if he's fit and he's healthy, he's definitely viewed a lot higher in this list than what he would be, because he's injured. So because of that fact, there's just such an unknown with him. I've got him on tier 4, but if he's fit and firing and at his absolute best, I'm not even kidding, I probably have him tier 2, maybe even tier 1. But it's just been such a long time, and I just want to see him back out there and playing footy again. Dirds, got him in tier 4. I think I'd love to see him, Carroll, and Kemp. I think they're the 3 that I'll be watching really closely as the next gen coming through and seeing how they finish. Cottrell, tier 4, just couldn't see how he fits in the tier 3 group. I think he's just a level below them. Honey, he's obviously an exciting prospect. I think Honey's an interesting one. He makes the imagination wonder, like what he could be, because he's got all these cool attributes, but he's got to be able to put it together for 4 quarters, and he's definitely in that development phase in his career. So I would like to think there's going to be a bit of a rise in what he does this season. Lockheed O'Brien, he probably was in tier 3 start of last year if I was doing this, but he finds himself there. And then Philby, now obviously been injured. We hope that he is over that. His body definitely looks a lot different from when he was drafted. And that's where I have him now. Tier 5, young Jesse Motlop. A lot of people talking about, he could be the next star, the next thing. Just think we need to cool our jets on him, let him come in and get used to the system. I've got him there. This isn't a pot shot at any of the guys in tier 5. This is just where I think they are. Parksy, you know what? Maybe he could have been in tier 4, but this is just where I feel he is. And then we've got Murkov as well, who's still quite a raw talent and a development player. So if we go back to the overall viewing of this, and I want to get your take on this in the comments below, and you can even have a crack at doing this. I've got a link in the description where you can physically do this tier list, and you can maybe even send it through to me. There's just, I feel like, and it's not a surprise, but you know who your better players are. I feel like in any given week, any of those top players on tier 1, they're going to be in your best. You know, if you're picking 5 best players, you're probably going to have 4 or 5 of them from tier 1. Now, tier 2, they can do it sporadically. Tier 3, I'm not really sure if I've seen many of them really, take a game apart, which is fine. Not everyone needs to be a star, but what I'd like to see from tier 3, when I look at the senior guys, when I talk about senior guys, I'm looking at Mcgovern and Jack Martin. I think we need to see a lift, and they've got to rise into tier 2 for 2022. I think they can. I think they will. Well, I hope they will more than anything, but that's important for me. I feel like if we can get 4 to 5 of these tier 3 players to fill up tier 2, I think we're such a better side this year. I really do. And if that's Mcgovern, Martin, Fisher, if that's Pitternet, and if that's, I don't know, take your pick. Is it Kennedy? Is it a surprise packet? Is it Stocker when he gets back into the side? I'm not sure, but I think we need at least 4 of them from tier 3 to rise up to tier 2. And, in a perfect scenario, Zach Williams rises up to tier 1, and maybe even Charlie Curnow actually gets back to his best and kicks 100 goals. I don't know. So those are my thoughts. This is just an opinion. It's not right. It's not wrong. But this is just an overview of where I view the current list in its state. And so I want to turn it to you guys. Give me some feedback on how you would rate these players. As I said, there is a link. You can actually do this exercise if you'd like. I've set it up for you. And then we'll just sort of chat about how you're viewing the list going into the season. And then at the end of the year, we'll do this again, and we'll see how it all played out. So I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing how you rate the list, and we'll go from there. Go the Mighty Blues.